So, you're ambitious, you've got big dreams, you want to be successful and ultimately live the life you've always imagined. But there's a problem. You're lazy. You know exactly what you should be doing, yet you don't do it. This leads to feelings of guilt because deep down, you know you're capable of more. That guilt builds up over days, weeks, and months until it turns into acceptance. Then the new year arrives, bringing with it the same goals from last year. You start off strong, fueled by motivation and a bit of delusion, but before you know it, procrastination creeps in like that one relative who always shows up uninvited. Your lingering procrastination turns into a daily cycle of laziness. Before long, you've labeled yourself as a lazy person. So how do we break this cycle and free ourselves from procrastination? There are countless videos and articles online, but most only address the symptoms, like deleting social media apps or removing distractions. While these tactics might help temporarily, they fail to tackle the real issue, the root cause of procrastination, which can be summed up in one word: inertia. In physics, inertia is the tendency for objects at rest to stay at rest, and objects in motion to stay in motion unless acted upon by an external force. This happens to be Newton's first law of motion, and it applies just as much to tasks as it does to physical objects. Getting started on any task, no matter how small, requires an initial push, some amount of energy to overcome the resting state of inertia. This is precisely where the problem lies. We make the initial push seem so big and difficult in our minds that we avoid the task entirely, distracting ourselves with cheap dopamine-inducing activities like scrolling through social media or binge-watching videos. To break the cycle of procrastination, we need to break inertia. There are two effective ways to do this. Reduce the stakes. Getting started is often the most difficult part, so make it as easy as possible. Reduce the stakes by taking the smallest possible step forward. For example, if you tell yourself, I need to sit down and complete my 5,000 word essay, the inertia is too strong because the stakes feel overwhelming. But if you tell yourself, I'm only going to write 50 words, the feeling of inertia is much lower. It's easier to start without needing to rely heavily on willpower or discipline. Apply the 2-minute rule. If you don't feel like doing the work, just tell yourself you'll do it for 2 minutes and then stop if you want to. For example, if you don't feel like cleaning your room, put on a song, clean until the music stops, and then decide whether to continue. The best part is, usually you'll continue longer than 2 minutes, or you'll end up writing more than 50 words. This happens because objects in motion tend to stay in motion. Once we get started, we build momentum, which keeps us going longer than we initially planned. Initially, overcoming inertia feels like pushing a ball uphill, but once we pass the tipping point, it's all downhill from there. That's why it's crucial that the initial push is small and easy. In other words, reduce the stakes and start with just 2 minutes. You can apply these two methods to any area of your life to overcome procrastination, whether that's getting to the gym, working on your side hustle, maintaining your relationships, or pretty much anything else you can think of. As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. Remember, the key to breaking the cycle of procrastination isn't about sudden bursts of motivation or relying solely on discipline. It's about understanding how inertia works in your daily life and using small, manageable steps to create momentum. Start small, stay consistent, and watch as those tiny actions build into lasting habits that move you closer to your dreams.